Hey guys, so this is your second video in regards to your distance and midpoint activity that you're going to be doing for this week. It is a lengthier um, assignment, so just be aware of this, okay? I still want you to complete it, and if for some reason you get really stuck, please let me know and I can walk you through it. Again, I wanted to remind you that my printer ink is low, so that's why you're noticing that my side is really lacking as far as the amount of words that you can actually read, okay? But essentially what you're going to be doing with this assignment is you're going to be finding midpoint and you're going to be finding distance of all of these lines, okay? So I'm going to be going through and doing one of them for you, with you, so that you can kind of see how to do it. And then I'm going to basically let you guys do the rest of the assignment, okay? So I'm going to actually do K and L with you, okay? So KL. So the first thing you want to do with each of your points on your sheet is you're going to want to figure out what is this actual point, okay? So if you are starting from the center, obviously when you go left, it's negative, so this is -1. And then when you go down, it's also negative, so this would be -1. So you always want to go left and right first to figure out your x, and then up and down second to figure out your y. And then same with the L. So I'm going to the right, so this is positive. So again, I apologize about the printer quality. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this would be 9, comma, and you can see that I'm going up 1, so this is comma 1, okay? So these are my 2 points that I have. So you want to do that for every single line that you have here. The second thing you want to do for every single line is you want to draw your Pythagorean theorem right triangle, okay? Now, it doesn't matter whether you do upside down triangles or whether you do left to right triangles. It doesn't really matter. But you also want to figure out what is the length of each sides of your triangle. So this is 2, and then this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so you want to do this for every single triangle to start. It's going to make your life a lot easier for this assignment if you did this with every single one. Now, if you have the ability to color coordinate your lines, like, hey, this is my yellow line, and then the next line that I have is my green line, and then I have a purple line, and color coordinate them, it might be a little bit easier for you on your sheet of paper. So that, for instance, the paper that I'm looking at is going to be the second page. You can color coordinate and say, oh, this is my yellow line and I'm going to highlight KL so that I know which line I'm specifically talking about. Okay, so that's the preface. You want to start it like this. So start with every single part doing this, okay? Then you're going to go into these next 2 pages, okay? So first thing that you want to do is, it says find the length using a ruler. You can basically just cross that off. Okay, so you can just completely cross that entire column off. You don't have to do that, okay? Same thing where it says midpoint using a ruler, cross it off. Okay, so basically those 2 columns are gone and you're just going to be following the directions for the top. So you're going to be finding the length using the distance formula and the length using Pythagorean theorem, and then you're going to be finding the midpoint using the midpoint formula. Okay, so the length using the distance formula is definitely the hardest. And so I'm going to start with the hardest. Okay, so I'm going to see if you guys can kind of see my points here. Oh, it's kind of hard with this. I'm going to actually fold it. Oh, no, I'm going to fold it. Okay, so I have to start with my 2 points. So I'm going to rewrite my points. So I have -1, comma -1 for my K. And I have 9, 1 for my J. So I'm going to write my points down. I need my points not only for this length using formula distance, but I also need it for midpoint. So if you want to write it here, -1, -1, and then 9, 1, you can as well. You do not need it for the Pythagorean theorem, okay? So for this one, we're going to label x1, y1, x2, y2, and what we're going to do is we're going to essentially plug these into this formula. Now it's kind of hard to see here, but this is supposed to be squared on this end, so please make sure that you write that in if you don't have it. So we're going to have the square root, and then our x2 is 9, minus our x1, which is -1, and then another parentheses, and then it's squared plus our y2, which is 1, minus our y1, which is -1, squared. Okay, now you can put this all into a calculator as long as you use the amount of parentheses that I actually have here. But if you don't have a calculator, why I use double parentheses here is I wanted you to remember that when you have two negatives equal a positive. So this would be essentially the square root of 9 plus 1. So you have 9 plus 1, which is 10. Okay, so 9 plus 1 squared. And then you have two negatives again that equal positive, so 1 plus 1, so that would be 2 squared here. Okay, so 10 squared is 100, and 2 squared is 4, so your length is the square root of 104. Okay, now on this assignment, if you want to go above and beyond and simplify this and break this down, you can. There's not really a lot of room to do that here, and so I'm going to give you extra credit for it if you break this down. So you can keep this just as is, or if you want extra credit, you can break it down. So this would be this would be 52 times 2. This would be 26 times 2, and this would be 13 times 2. And so if you broke this down, you have a pair of 2's, and then you have these two, okay? So you end up having 2 radical 26, okay? So if you want extra credit, you can give me this answer, okay? If you don't care about the extra credit, you can just leave it as is, okay? Now, here's the thing about this. You should be getting the same answer here as you get here. So if you don't get the same two answers, you're doing something wrong, okay? So how you can kind of preface to see if you're doing it right is, remember with Pythagorean theorem, we're going to use the sides that the lengths that you have here. So your a squared and b squared. So this is 2 and this is 10. So you'd have 2 squared plus 10 squared equals c squared. Now notice you have 2 squared and 10 squared. So if you're seeing that these two numbers are not matching up with the two numbers underneath the radical, most likely you probably made a mistake here, because usually students make mistakes here. Now you could have counted the numbers wrong, so maybe recheck and count and see if that's the case on this one as well. Okay, and so again, you can either leave it as the square root of 104, or if you want to get the extra credit, break it down. Okay, so 52 times 2, and then you keep breaking it down and so forth. Okay, and then the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to do midpoint. So midpoint is the easiest one, I think. So you're basically just going to add your x's together, so -1 plus 9 and divide by 2. And same if you're going to add the y, so -1 plus 1 and divide by 2. So -1 plus 9 gives me 8. And then -1 plus 1 gives me 0. And then 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 0 divided by 2 is 0. So my midpoint would be 4, 0. And again, I apologize, I'm kind of using up a lot of space. You really don't want to go into the next box. You want to just keep it within this box. So if you're running out of room, again, you can put it on a separate sheet of paper. Just make sure that you label it specifically with what line you're doing and then all of the work for it as well. Okay, so you're going to be basically doing that for all of the lines on this. Please let me know if you have any questions, message me and remind, or come to my Zoom conference hours, and I will hopefully get a picture. So you're going to send me a picture of this side of the assignment, you're going to send me a picture of the line side here, and you're going to send me a picture of this. Now let's say you don't have a printer and you cannot print these off. If you don't have a printer for this, then you can just draw in the picture. So you can basically, you would on a separate sheet of paper, you would just draw kind of the right triangle, and you would have like the point -1, -1, and you'd have 9, 1 here, and you'd put 2 and 10, and then that would count as your picture for this specific part. Okay, so hopefully that was clear, but please let me know if you have any additional questions.